It's
Do you
recording.
want to say your name?
Say my name.
Say your name and your occupation.
Okay. Should I say hello?
And and your age.
Okay. Hello, my name is Holly Leese. I'm 22 and I'm a medical photographer.
I'm Faith. I'm 8.5 years old and I am in primary school.
My name's Joanne Robinson. I'm 44 and I work as a card merchandiser at the moment. Oh, and I'm Faith Robinson's mum.
I'm Jo Bolger-Leese. I am in my 40s and I work as a Deputy Divisional Director for Acute Adult Care at Bolton Hospital.
My name's Eileen Robinson. I'm 83 years old and I was nursing from 1956 till for 66 years.
When did you first realise there was an environmental crisis?
I'd say I first realised there was an environmental crisis when I was quite young, and my grandparents live on a farm next to the beach, and I always like thought it was my special place. But I'd say once I reached about 8 or 9, I started to come to the realisation that it actually wasn't pretty, because the beach would be scattered with fishing nets, litter, like big plastic tubs. You could spend an hour picking up rubbish, would never even touch the surface of the amount of disgusting stuff there was all over the beach. There was clearly something wrong. Where is it coming from? Why is it here? Why is it on such a beautiful, special place when it doesn't need to be? So that's when I realised.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah. What was it that you've seen or heard of?
Well, I've seen it on telly a few times, like on a few programmes.
What did you see on the programme?
Well, I saw David Attenborough did something and there was loads of plastic washed up.
And how would that make you feel?
A bit sad.
Sad.
I realised that a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, once I saw a beached seal. I don't know why it died, but I think it might have been eating plastic, so then it had been beached, maybe.
When I was at school and we had to do a drawing of what things would flood in the future if we carried on as we were, because I had a very sort of eco-geography teacher who was really into the climates being damaged and global warming, even though it wasn't something that you talked about all the time. Which is why I can't understand why everyone's surprised now when they go, oh, the world's going to flood, when I can remember drawing that when I was about 11.
Yeah, I remember in school in the 80s and early 90s there was a lot of emphasis on the CO2 pollution, and it was kind of blamed on you using too much hairspray and deodorants, because everybody had those really sticky up fringes and the curly hair and all the products and everything.
In my younger days, we used to have milk delivered by milkmen. They used to come round with horse and carts delivering milk in glass bottles. When plastics was introduced to contain milk, I think that was a really good thing, because quite often the milk bottles used to get knocked over and the glass smashed.
Do you feel to blame?
I'd say in a small way you always feel to blame, and you can go day by day feeling guilty for the little things you do, like buying from a big corporate company or things like that. But ultimately I don't think I'm solely to blame. I think there is higher power that is to blame, but day by day you can feel guilty that you are a small part to be blamed in the whole thing, because of social media and influences of other people that make you want to create these purchases or do these things or get on an aeroplane somewhere when you don't need to.
I don't think people understood what was happening, so now I think we're to blame now because we understand. Probably not a good example, like people who smoked now get lung cancer. I didn't know it was bad to smoke. However, you do now. So I think that's probably similar to what it is now in the last sort of 20 years. We know there's a problem, so everyone's contributing to that problem and nobody's fixing it.
No. I mean, I was just born into the world. I've always tried my best to live a good life, you know.
Who would you say is to blame for all the problems with the climate?
People who want too much money, because it's always blamed on the poorer people who might be chopping all the trees down, you know, in the poor countries, but they're just trying to survive. It's the multi-millionaires who are to blame with their greed.
The greed is to blame.
I think it's just the way of the world's going at the moment, because nobody can stop the environmental crisis. Weather and stuff like that will just continue to go different as the world goes, as the years go on.
If you could describe what your ideal world looked like, or what the colours were, or what was there, what would it look like?
It would be very green, and it would have lots of animals and plants, and it would have not lots of houses, but enough for everyone to live in. And it wouldn't have any extinct animals.
No extinct animals.
I'd say my ideal world would be one that I would want to live in the future, and bring up kids in the future, but right now it's not. I wouldn't want to bring up kids in the future that is now, because it just seems a mess, and my ideal world would be full of peace and happiness, but it's not, unfortunately. And it would be a world where you're not scared to wonder what the next 10 years will bring because of global warming and the crisis that is the environment at the minute. Like, it makes me not want to bring up my own children because of the future that is coming at us. So my ideal world would be one that I feel like I could have a future in, but it doesn't feel that way right now.
Ideal world of environmental, do you mean?
Anything.
Clean air, like when it was in lockdown. The birds were coming into the garden.
Do you think that you can save it?
I don't think I can save it on my own.
I'm not sure I can save it on my own.
Not on my own.
I think everyone can do their own part.
If everybody worked together, I'd like to hope that we could.
If you can make a small impact and that influences someone else and they influence someone else, then ultimately that chain of events becomes a bigger thing, a bigger picture.
In my days, you knew when the winter was starting and when the summer and winter was ending and summer was starting. But in this day and age, you never know, because it's really warm at Christmas, which we used to have 6 foot of snow, and I don't think it'll get any better.
Do you think you can save the planet?
Yes. Because sometimes I think I could be someone.
Great. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to
Shut up.
To say my piece.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh.